Welcome to Blackthornprod. I'm Noah, an indie game developer currently working on a game with Unity called The Fire of Belief. A 2D top-down shooter set in the mind, your task being to annihilate all fear, negativity and doubt lurking there, keeping your fire lit at all times. This week has been very eventful, but first of all, here's a quick recap of what happened last week. In short, I ditched the local multiplayer aspect of my game and had settled on building a solo experience. However, after testing the single player version, I quickly realized that the creation had lost what had made it special and different to begin with. It now felt like a repetitive shoot game with little else involved. I tried fixing this lack of originality and juice by adding an interesting mechanic, one where you would collect these little golden bird-like things and then sacrifice them to get fire. The more you have, the more value each one has, which created a nice risk-reward feel, because getting hit by a single enemy would result in the instant loss of every single bird. Questions players would ask themselves are, should I collect loads and earn big, or sacrifice quickly to minimize the risks of losing everything? This mechanic, though quite interesting, wasn't perfect. Indeed, skilled players could very quickly find themselves with huge amounts of fire, getting rid of all tension. Still, I persevered and began putting into place a weapon system, where at the end of each level, instead of getting a damage up, you would choose to spend X amount of fire and get a weapon of corresponding power. This added some nice choicey decisions, but didn't change the fact that the Fire of Belief didn't feel as interesting as it used to. Basically, I missed the two-player co-op feel, the thrill of beating a boss with your teammate or cursing them for accidentally shooting you. The project had grown complex, bloated, and in the process had lost its essence. So I happily decided to go back on my initial two-player vision, saying to myself that I could always make the solo mode after. I know it won't find as much of an audience than it would have being a single-player game, but I'd rather a few players enjoy an original, new experience than a pack of people playing something I personally feel was less fun. So after playtesting and tweaking the difficulty, I decided it was time to make some menus for the game. I began by creating the main menu, painting everything in Photoshop and animating a blazing fire with frame-by-frame hand-drawn animation. In Unity, I then had to make all the fade in and out scene transitions, as well as put into place an extinguishing fire once the players hit play. It was then time to make something a little more interesting and exciting for the game over scene. Once again, I took out my Wacom tablet and began painting a gloomy defeat scene, the two characters carrying unlit dead torches. Negative words popping on screen before transitioning back to the optimistic lit main menu. The players can go back in, learn from their previous failure and do better. The main menus, in my opinion, nicely deliver a part of the story, but I couldn't stop there. I decided to make little illustrations that would display themselves at the start of each scene. Basically, each time the players beat a boss, they would discover more of the story of this little boy whose mind they are currently wandering around, victim of fear and doubt. This also acts as an extra little reward for overcoming the many challenges faced. Liking the simple style of these mini illustrations, I figured that it would be a great time to put into practice my knowledge of Unity's player prefs by creating collectible quotes the players can come across while running around the mind. For those of you who don't know, player prefs is a way to save information from one playthrough to another. It can be used, for example, for a high score system, where when the players leave the game and then come back to it later, they will still have the same high score. It won't reset to its default value. So each quote features inspirational advice, words from many great people, powerful enough to dispel, even just for a moment, doubt, fear and negativity from the mind. I've only made 11 for now, but plan on making many more. Where things got complicated, however, was in the unlock lock system. Though in theory player prefs are very easy to understand, I couldn't get it to work. Every time I restarted the game, all quotes I had previously collected would be locked. Liam then volunteered to help me out, and in just a few moments, with his awesome programming skill set, was able to get it working and explain to me why it wasn't functioning properly, which was really awesome. Though this wasn't the greatest game dev week, from my single player flop to my player prefs blockage, I am now really excited to pursue my journey. All I would like to add before posting the first version on itch.io to get some awesome feedback from you is a sort of windscreen if you happen to beat the first 5 levels, a few more quotes to collect, difficulty tweaked, and surely some placeholder background music. And talking about music, if you happen to be a musician of some sort, I would be delighted to hear from you and perhaps collaborate to give the game an extra layer of life by adding some nice sounds and music. Because as I have said before, I have hardly any experience making music. The only piece actually made being my small, very quirky Ludum Dare music. Many great people in the comments have of course left some awesome suggestions, such as changing the eyes on the sides, which I definitely agree with, or even adding the 7 deadly sins as enemies to battle with, which would really go well with the mind theme. I myself have a pack of ideas that I wish to bring to life, such as new horrors, secret areas and helpful pets, all of which will be implemented if you enjoy the first small version of the game. With that said, I'll wrap up the video. Stay tuned, this time next week the game should be out for playing. Of course, thanks so much for watching. As usual, all feedback is really welcome and appreciated. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, stay positive and be fearless, and with that, I'll see you in 2018. Cheers!